18th edition of Spooky Reviews from Spooky Ventures. This time around I'm going to be talking about a new book from Klefstad called Fiona's Guardians. The book was released on October 2nd, and it's a vampire story with much of the focus on the vampire's human guardians. Starting with the basics, let me say that I really enjoyed this book. It's dark, it's spooky, and it's fun. I'm not positive I'd consider it horror because I didn't find it necessarily scary. That said, I sometimes find things chilling, but seldom feel scared from books that terrify others, so really you have to consider the source. I should also say that any book that is focused on vampires ultimately lands under horror, I suppose. And I would like to also add that I found myself rooting for the main vampire, Fiona, and her guardians in the book most of the time. But again, that might be all down to me. Now, there's a religious order operating within but independent of the Catholic Church whose job it is to hunt down vampires in this book. Now, that reminded me a lot of John Carpenter's vampires, as did some of the tools of their trade. And that is my favorite personal favorite vampire movie, so a connection was made for me right there. This is not a direct reference to Carpenter's concept, though, as there are definite differences between Klefstad's Holy Warriors and Carpenter's. This book reads more like an espionage thriller in a lot of ways. There are secret alliances, characters who are more or less double agents, and all kinds of subplots. There are various motivations and plots put into motion by different factions, and even different individuals. As you might guess of a vampire tale, there are callbacks to various points in history. They bring light important moments in both vampire and human histories. There are also various locations and bits of historical fact throughout. Many of these illustrate Klefstad's knowledge of history and old languages and traditions. There was another element that helped me feel connected to the tale. Some of this is set in my and Klefstad's home region of northern Illinois, so I felt literally at home in the book, particularly when my hometown of Rockford was referenced. Now, I have to confess to having read the book pretty quickly. One reason was that the book was compelling and I really wanted to know what was going to happen next. That's not the whole story, though. I read it quickly, in part to be able to review it, but also in part because I was reading a digital copy and I despise reading books that way. Technical issues had me restarting it over and over again because the view got messed up. Now that's important because you have to know that I was on a quest to get through the book, so I read it quickly, and it qualifies the only issues I had with it. For one thing, I found a lot of the subplots to be a bit overcomplicated. The jumping from time and place, perspective, and even reality and illusion have an effect of leaving me a bit lost at times. So did the use of first person from here and there because I wasn't sure who the first person who was telling the story was at some points. So there are parts of the book that left me a little confused. The thing is, I still understood the story even if I didn't get all the nuances of it. I was also fascinated by the story. Taking more time with it would have probably provided a less confusing experience, as would repeat readings. And like I said, it never once got in the way of me understanding the big picture or enjoying the book. This book is exciting. It's dark. It is full of twists and turns. Many of the characters are rich and interesting. I'd say that the lines of good and evil are definitely blurred. Most of the characters have mixed motivations, and even the characters that would be seen as the good guys have bad aspects and vice versa. I suppose that's really true to life because people are never really good or bad, but rather move along a continuum depending on the situation. The vampire mythos of the book is tied pretty closely to the traditions of the genre, but also features some unusual twists and some unusual sexual contexts. There are also other aspects of the book that challenge a lot of the basic concepts of our own society and suggest that there might be a better way to do things. I like this book a lot and look forward to getting a chance to sit down with more time and a physical copy to give it a second read. I will say that there are definitely moments in this that present some unexpected turns, and you always want that in a book. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.